The alarm had been screaming for 6 hours straight. Jake Morrison stood at the observation window of Nexus 7, watching the dying red star pulse like a sick heart. Behind him, the cargo bay held something that made every alien on the station nervous. He could tell by the way they walked faster when they passed it. By the way, they refused to look at it. The crate had arrived 3 days ago. It was the size of a small house, black as space itself, covered in warning symbols from species Jake had never even heard of. 12 different languages said the same thing. Do not touch. Automated processing only. No biological contact permitted. Jake had seen dangerous cargo before. He had worked on stations that handled nuclear materials, unstable chemicals, and even live weapons. But he had never seen anything that made the machines afraid. And the machines on Nexus 7 were afraid of this crate. Every automated system that tried to process it had failed. Not broken down. Not malfunctioned. Failed. The first robot had simply stopped moving and never started again. The second had torn itself apart. The third had tried to open the airlock and throw itself into space. Now the crate sat in quarantine, and a countdown timer on every screen showed the same number. 67 hours until the contents became unstable. 67 hours until Nexus 7 became a cloud of dust orbiting a dying star. Bella Torres walked up beside him. She was short, with dark hair pulled back tight, and eyes that never missed anything. She had been his partner for 3 years, running cargo on stations that nobody else wanted to work. Krill is ordering evacuation, she said. Her voice was flat, tired. How many ships do we have? 2, maybe 300 seats total. There are 800 people on this station. Jake did the math. It was not good math. So 500 people stay and die. Krill says he will use a lottery system. Random selection. Very fair. Bella did not sound like she thought it was fair. Jake turned away from the window. The cargo bay was visible through the glass floor beneath his feet. The crate sat in the center, surrounded by dead robots and blinking warning lights. Something about it seemed wrong. Not dangerous wrong. Sad wrong. Like it was waiting for something that would never come. I want to see Krill, Jake said. Bella grabbed his arm. Jake, whatever you are thinking, stop thinking it. I am thinking that 500 people are going to die because some machines could not open a box. Those machines were the most advanced processing systems in this sector. If they could not do it, what makes you think you can? Jake did not have an answer. He just knew that he was not going to sit on an evacuation ship while 500 people burned. He was not built that way. His mother had always said he was too stubborn for his own good. She had been right about most things. Overseer Krill's office was at the top of the station, a bubble of glass that looked out at the stars. Krill himself was insectoid, with 6 legs and eyes that reflected light like black mirrors. He was considered a fair manager by most species, efficient, logical. He had never shown Jake any disrespect, which was more than most aliens offered to humans. Morrison, Krill said when Jake entered. I assume you are here about the evacuation lottery. I am here about the crate. Krill's antennae twitched. It was the closest thing to surprise that his species showed. The crate is not your concern. It is beyond biological intervention. Says who? Says the 17 automated systems that have been destroyed attempting to process it. Says the Galactic Cargo Authority. Says basic common sense. Krill turned back to his screens. I understand humans have a reputation for stubbornness. But this is not stubbornness. This is suicide. Jake stepped closer. What is in the crate? Unknown. Where did it come from? Unknown. Who sent it? Unknown. Krill finally looked at him again. That is the problem, Morrison. We know nothing. The crate arrived through standard shipping channels with proper documentation, but every piece of information in that documentation is false. It is a ghost, a mystery wrapped in warnings, and every attempt to understand it has ended in destruction. Maybe that is because you keep sending machines to do a human's job. Krill made a sound that might have been laughter. Human arrogance. Your species has been in space for less than 200 years. You think you can succeed where civilizations thousands of years older have failed? I think I can try. The room was quiet. Outside, the red star pulsed. Somewhere below, 500 people were learning that they might die in 67 hours. The override codes, Jake said. Give them to me. If you enter that quarantine bay, you will die. Maybe, but if nobody enters that quarantine bay, 500 people will definitely die. I would rather take a maybe over a definitely. Krill studied him for a long moment. His black eyes showed nothing, but Jake had learned to read aliens over the years. He could see the calculation happening. The cold logic of an insectoid mind weighing costs and benefits. You will need a team, Krill finally said. I will not authorize solo entry. I know some people, and you will sign a waiver, releasing the station from responsibility for your death. I will sign whatever you want. Krill turned to his console and began typing. A moment later, a small chip ejected from the machine. He held it out to Jake. Override codes. Full access to the quarantine bay. He paused. Morrison, I do not understand humans. You are fragile, short-lived. Your bodies are inefficient, and your minds are chaotic. But you do things that make no logical sense, and somehow you survive. I find it disturbing. Jake took the chip. I find it pretty disturbing too most days. He walked out of the office and found Bella waiting in the corridor. She looked at the chip in his hand and closed her eyes. You are going to get us killed, she said. Probably. I hate you. I know. She opened her eyes and sighed. Fine, but I am picking the team. And if we die, I am going to haunt you forever. Jake smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in 6 hours. Deal. They walked toward the cargo bay together, and somewhere below them, the crate waited in the darkness. Waiting for something that no machine could give it. Waiting for something human. The quarantine bay was cold. Not normal cold. The kind of cold that made Jake feel like something was watching him from inside his own bones. Red emergency lights painted everything in shades of blood and shadow. The dead robots lay where they had fallen, metal bodies twisted into shapes that should not have been possible. Bella had picked 2 people for the team. Tommy Reeves was young, maybe 25, with the kind of nervous energy that came from being too smart and too aware of danger. He was an engineer, fresh from Earth's academies, and he kept checking his equipment like it might disappear if he stopped looking at it. Grace. Kim was the opposite. She was calm, quiet, and had seen things that would break most people. She had spent 15 years studying alien artifacts, poking at mysteries that other scientists refused to touch. Her gray hair was cut short, and her eyes had the distant look of someone who spent more time thinking than talking. The crate's surface is shifting, Tommy said, staring at his scanner. Like it knows we are here. Jake looked at the crate. Tommy was right. The black surface moved with patterns of light, soft blues and purples that pulsed like breathing. It was almost beautiful. Almost, is it alive? Bella asked. I do not know, Grace said. She walked closer, holding out a small device. The readings are strange. It is not organic, not mechanical. Something else. Something I have never seen before. Jake approached the crate. Up close, he could feel a vibration in the air, like standing next to a giant speaker playing music too low to hear. The warning symbols seemed to glow brighter as he got closer. The access panel is here, he said, pointing to a section of the surface that looked slightly different. The override code should open it. Should, Tommy repeated. That is not a word I like right now. Jake inserted the chip Krill had given him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crate made a sound. It was not mechanical. It was not organic. It was something like a sigh, like relief, like a door opening after being closed for a very long time. The surface of the crate began to fold inward, creating an opening large enough for a person to walk through. Inside, there was light. Soft, golden light that did not seem to come from anywhere. Well, Bella said, that is terrifying. Jake stepped forward, but Grace grabbed his arm. Wait, let me go first. I have more experience with unknown artifacts. And I have more experience with not dying, Jake said. Stay behind me. They entered the crate together, all four of them, moving slowly through the golden light. The inside was bigger than the outside. Jake knew that was impossible, but he had stopped trusting the word impossible a long time ago. The space stretched out around them, walls that seemed to go on forever. Floor that felt solid but looked like it was made of clouds. And in the center of it all, floating in a column of shimmering energy, was a child. Not a human child. Not any kind of child Jake had ever seen. It was made of crystal, or something like crystal, with a body that shifted between solid and light. It was small, maybe 3 feet tall, with shapes that suggested arms and legs and head. But its face was smooth, featureless, except for 2 points of light where eyes should be. What is it? Tommy whispered. Grace was already scanning. Her hands were shaking, which Jake had never seen before. It is alive, conscious, and it is dying. Dying how? The containment field is failing. It has been failing for a long time. Centuries, maybe longer. Grace looked at the data on her screen. This is why the machines failed. This is not cargo. This is not a threat. This is a child, and it has been alone in this box for hundreds of years, slowly fading away. Jake felt something in his chest. Not fear, something softer. Something that hurt in a different way. Can we help it? I do not know. The readings say it needs something to stabilize. Something the machines could not provide. Grace paused, reading more data. Emotional resonance, creativity, intuition. Things that cannot be programmed. The crystal child moved. Its light eyes turned toward them, and Jake felt a wave of something wash over him. Fear, loneliness, hope, feelings that were not his own. Pushing into his mind like someone knocking on a door. It is trying to communicate, Grace said. It is reaching out to us. Jake took a step closer to the containment field. The child reached back, one crystalline hand pressing against the energy barrier. The light flickered. The whole space trembled. Jake, Bella warned. Be careful. But Jake was not thinking about being careful. He was thinking about his grandmother, who had died alone in a hospital bed because he had been too far away to reach her in time. He was thinking about his mother, who had spent her last years wondering if her son would ever come home. He was thinking about every person he had known who had been alone when they should not have been. Hey, he said softly to the crystal child. I do not know if you can understand me, but you are not alone anymore. We are here. The child's light eyes brightened. The feelings in Jake's mind shifted. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Trust, a tiny spark of trust, fragile as glass. It is a seed, Grace said suddenly. I understand now. It is a consciousness seed. Someone was trying to create a new form of life. They put everything they were, everything they knew, into this child. And then something went wrong. The machine that was supposed to nurture it broke down. And it has been waiting ever since. Waiting for someone to finish what was started. How do we finish it? Jake asked. Grace looked at him with sad eyes. I do not know yet. But I know one thing. The machines failed because they tried to process it like cargo. They tried to analyze it, categorize it, file it away. But this child does not need to be processed. It needs to be loved. The containment field flickered again. The child made a sound, high and clear like a bell being struck. Outside the crate, they heard alarms. The station was running out of time, but inside the golden light, Jake stood with his hand pressed against the barrier, looking at a dying child made of crystal and starlight. And he knew, with a certainty he could not explain, that he was not going to let it die alone. "We are going to figure this out," he said. "I promise." The child's light flickered, and somewhere in the depths of Jake's mind, he felt something that might have been hope. Jake stood at the edge of the containment field, feeling the energy hum against his skin. The others had gone back to the main station to find equipment, to search for answers in databases and old records. But Jake had stayed. He could not leave the child alone. Not after seeing those eyes made of light. Not after feeling that desperate hope pushing against his mind. "Grace says I should not do this," Jake said to the crystal child. "She says the field might kill me, might scramble my brain, might turn me inside out." He paused. "But you have been alone in here for centuries. That seems worse than dying." The child's light flickered. Jake took it as agreement. He stepped through the containment field. The world changed. Gravity stopped making sense. He was falling up, then sideways, then not falling at all. Colors existed that he had no names for. Sounds became shapes. Shapes became feelings. His body felt like it was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And then the memories hit him. They were not his memories. They belonged to a civilization that had died before humans had learned to make fire. He saw cities made of light, floating in the clouds of a gas giant. He saw beings that were not solid, not liquid, not gas, but something in between. He saw them laughing, loving, building, dreaming, and he saw them dying. A sickness had come. Not a disease of the body, but a disease of reality itself. Their world was unraveling, coming apart at the seams. They had tried everything: science, magic, prayer. Nothing worked. So they had made a choice. They had taken everything they were. Every memory, every song, every story, every moment of joy and pain and love. And they had put it all into a seed. A child made of light and crystal and hope. They had built a machine to nurture it, to help it grow into something new. A new form of life that would carry their legacy into the future. But the machine had broken. The civilization had died. And the child had been left alone in the darkness, slowly fading, waiting for someone who never came. Jake felt tears on his face. They floated away in the strange gravity, becoming tiny stars that drifted through the impossible space. "I am sorry," he said. "I am so sorry you were alone." The child appeared in front of him. The child of him. Inside the field, it looked different. More real, more alive. Its crystal body glowed with soft warmth, and the light eyes seemed almost like real eyes, filled with emotions that Jake could barely understand. It reached out and touched his face. The touch was cool, like metal in morning air, but gentle. So gentle, more memories came. But these were questions. The child wanted to know about him. About humans. About Earth. So Jake showed it. He showed it his mother's kitchen, the smell of bread baking on Sunday mornings. He showed it the first time he had seen the ocean, standing on a beach in California with sand between his toes and salt on his lips. He showed it falling in love, falling out of love, falling down and getting back up again. He showed it rain on windows and snow on mountains and stars seen from a rooftop on a warm summer night. He showed it his grandmother's garden, where flowers grew in colors that did not exist anywhere else. He showed it her hands, wrinkled and strong, planting seeds in dark soil. He showed it her voice, soft and warm, telling him that everything worth having was worth waiting for. The child absorbed it all. And as it did, something changed. The crystal body began to glow brighter. The flickering stopped. The desperate, dying energy became something stable, something alive. "Iris," Jake said suddenly. He did not know where the name came from. It just appeared in his mind, like it had always been there. "Your name is Iris, like the flower in my grandmother's garden." The child, Iris, made a sound that was almost like laughter. A bell ringing in a cathedral. A wind chime in a summer breeze. She showed him one more memory. Not from her creators. From herself. A memory of waiting in the darkness, feeling herself fade away, hoping and hoping and hoping that someone would come. And then, finally, after centuries of silence, hearing voices. Feeling warmth. Knowing that she was not alone anymore. Jake smiled. "You are welcome. And I am not going anywhere." Outside the containment field, alarms were screaming. Jake could hear them, distant and muffled, like sounds from another world. He knew they were running out of time. He knew that somewhere out there, a ship was coming to destroy this crate and everything in it. But inside the field, time moved differently. Inside the field, there was only Iris and Jake, sharing memories like old friends sharing stories around the fire. "We need to go," Jake said finally. "There are people outside who want to hurt you, but I will not let them. I promise." Iris showed him an image. A question. She wanted to know why. Why would he risk his life for something he had just met? Why would he fight for a child made of crystal and light? Jake thought about it. He thought about his grandmother, who had planted flowers even when she knew she would not live to see them bloom. He thought about his mother, who had worked 2 jobs to send him to school, never complaining, never asking for anything in return. He thought about all the humans throughout history who had done impossible things, not because they had to, but because they could not stand by and do nothing. "Because that is what we do," he said. "Humans. We find things that are lost. We fix things that are broken. We love things that others throw away. It does not always make sense. It is not always logical. But it is who we are." Iris's light eyes glowed brighter. She understood. Maybe not everything, but enough. Jake reached out his hand. Iris took it. Her crystal fingers felt warm now, not cold. Alive. "Come on," he said. "Let us go show the galaxy what happens when you forget to tell humans something is impossible." Together, they stepped out of the containment field, out of the crate, and into the chaos waiting outside. The alarms were louder now. The red lights were flashing faster. And through the observation window, Jake could see a ship approaching. A military ship, with weapons armed. But Jake was not afraid. He had a child made of starlight holding his hand. And he had made a promise. Some promises were worth dying for. The command center of Nexus 7 was filled with shouting. Aliens of a dozen species talked over each other, pointing at screens, waving arms and tentacles, and things that had no name. In the middle of it all stood Overseer Krill, his black eyes reflecting the chaos around him. Jake walked in with Iris at his side. The room went silent. Iris looked different outside the crate. Her crystal body had taken a more human shape, still made of light and glass, but with features now. A face with soft curves, eyes that sparkled like stars. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, like staring at the sun through a prism. "Morrison," Krill said. His voice was careful, controlled. "What have you done?" "I saved her." "Her?" One of Krill's antennae twitched. "That thing is not her. It is a Class Omega threat. It has destroyed automated systems across 40 star systems, because they could not give her what she needed." Jake stepped forward, putting himself between Iris and the aliens. She is not a threat. She is a child, the last survivor of a dead civilization. She was alone in that box for centuries, and the only thing she wanted was someone to talk to her, to care about her. The machines could not do that, so they died. Bella pushed through the crowd to stand beside Jake. Tommy and Grace followed. They had heard the commotion and come running. Now they stood together, 4 humans facing a room full of aliens who looked at them like they were crazy. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. A human woman appeared, older, with gray hair pulled back and a uniform covered in medals. Her face was hard, her eyes harder. "I am Admiral Patricia Stone," she said. "I am in command of the Dauntless, currently in orbit around your station. I have orders from the Galactic Cargo Authority to destroy that crate and everything in it." "Admiral," Jake said, "with respect, you are making a mistake. I do not make mistakes, civilian. I follow orders, and my orders are clear. That thing in your cargo bay has been classified as an extinction-level threat. It will be eliminated. She is not a thing." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "Her name is Iris. She is alive. She is conscious. She is scared and alone, and she just wants to live. You cannot murder her because some bureaucrat decided she was too dangerous to understand." Admiral Stone's expression did not change. "I can, and I will. And I will. You have 30 minutes to evacuate non-essential personnel. After that, I will open fire." The hologram disappeared. The room erupted in chaos again. Aliens began running for the exits, pushing and shoving, desperate to reach the evacuation ships. Only the humans stayed where they were. Iris made a sound, low, sad, like wind through empty halls. Jake turned to her and saw that her light had dimmed. She understood what was happening. She knew they wanted to kill her. "We will not let them," Jake said. "I promise." But even as he said it, he knew it was a promise he might not be able to keep. The Dauntless was a warship. Its weapons could destroy the entire station in seconds. What could 4 humans do against that? Grace was looking at her scanner, her face pale. "Jake, we have another problem." "Another problem?" "We are about to be blown up." "What could be worse?" "Iris is broadcasting some kind of signal. She does not even know she is doing it. It is like a distress call going out into deep space." Grace looked up. "And something is answering." The room went cold. Jake looked at Iris, who seemed confused. Her light flickered with colors he did not recognize. Colors that felt like fear. "What is answering?" Tommy asked. "I do not know. The signal is coming from outside the galaxy. From very, very far away. Whatever it is, it will take years to reach us. Maybe centuries. But it heard her. It knows she is here." Jake thought about the memories Iris had shown him. The dying civilization. The seed they had created. Were there others? Other seeds scattered across the universe, waiting and hoping and slowly fading away? "That does not matter right now," Bella said. "What matters is surviving the next 30 minutes." She was right. Jake pushed the distant signal out of his mind and focused on the immediate problem. They needed to stop Admiral Stone. They needed to show her that Iris was not a threat. "Grace," he said, "you said Iris needs emotional resonance to stabilize. What happens if she does not get it? If she loses the connection?" Grace hesitated. "She becomes unstable again. The power fluctuations would be massive. Uncontrolled. They could tear the station apart. Or they could tear a warship apart." "Jake," Grace's voice was sharp, "you cannot threaten an admiral of the Galactic Fleet. That is not how humans survive in this galaxy. I am not threatening anyone. I am just pointing out facts. Jake turned to Iris. Can you control your power? If I stay connected to you, if I keep giving you what you need, can you focus it? Direct it? Iris considered. Her light eyes brightened. She showed him an image. Yes, with help. With him. What are you thinking? Bella asked. I am thinking that Admiral Stone thinks Iris is a weapon. Maybe we should show her what Iris really is. Not a weapon. Not a threat. Something much more dangerous than that. What? Jake smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man about to do something very stupid. Hope. Grace stepped forward. There is another option. A way to stabilize Iris permanently. But it requires sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? A neural link. Permanent. Someone would have to bond with her. Share their mind with her forever. Their thoughts, their emotions, their dreams. It would change them. They would never be fully human again. But it would stabilize Iris completely. Her power would become focused, controlled, safe. The room was quiet. Jake looked at Iris, at her frightened eyes, at the light that flickered like a candle in the wind. I will do it, he said. Jake, no. Bella grabbed his arm. You do not know what that means. You could lose yourself. You could become something else entirely. Or I could save 800 people on this station. I could save a child who's been alone for centuries. I could show the galaxy that humans do not give up on people just because it is hard. He put his hand on Bella's cheek. I have been alone most of my life. Floating from station to station, never belonging anywhere. Maybe this is why. Maybe this is what I was waiting for. Bella's eyes filled with tears. But she did not argue. She knew him too well. Jake turned to Iris and held out his hand. Are you ready? Iris took his hand. Her crystal fingers intertwined with his. And as the Dauntless powered up its weapons above them, as the clock counted down to destruction, Jake Morrison closed his eyes and opened his mind. The light consumed him. And everything changed. Jake had expected pain. He had expected confusion, disorientation, the feeling of losing himself in someone else. What he got was something entirely different. He got understanding. Iris's mind merged with his, and suddenly he could see everything. Not just the room around him, but the station itself. The people running through its corridors. The ships docked at its ports. The dying star pulsing in the darkness of space. He could feel the fear of the evacuating aliens. The determination of his friends standing beside him. The cold calculation of Admiral Stone aboard the Dauntless. And he could feel Iris, not as something separate, but as part of himself. Her loneliness became his loneliness. Her hope became his hope. Her power, vast and ancient and terrible, became something he could touch. Jake? Bella's voice seemed far away. Jake, can you hear me? He opened his eyes. The world looked different now, brighter, more real. He could see the threads of energy that connected everything, the invisible web that held the universe together. I can hear you, he said. His voice sounded strange, layered, like two people speaking at once. Iris stood beside him, but she was changed too. Her crystal body glowed with steady golden light. No more flickering, no more fear. She looked at Jake with eyes that sparkled like galaxies, and he felt her gratitude wash over him like warm water. The Dauntless is powering weapons, Tommy said, his voice tight with fear. Jake looked up. Through the station's hull, through layers of metal and shielding, he could see the warship. He could feel Admiral Stone's hand hovering over the firing controls. He could sense her hesitation, small but real. She did not want to do this. She was a soldier. She followed orders. But somewhere deep inside, she wondered if the orders were wrong. I can reach her, Jake said. What do you mean? Grace asked. The same way Iris reached me. Through memory. Through feeling. I can show her what Iris showed me." He paused. "But I need to get closer. I need to be outside the station." "That is insane," Bella said. "You will die in the vacuum." "No." Jake looked at his hands. They glowed faintly, the same golden light that filled Iris. "I do not think I will." Before anyone could stop him, he walked to the nearest airlock. Iris followed, her crystal feet making no sound on the metal floor. The others ran after them, shouting, pleading, but Jake did not stop. He could not stop. He understood now what he had to do. The airlock opened. The void of space stretched out before him, cold and endless and beautiful. Jake stepped out. He did not die. The light that filled him created a bubble of warmth and air, a small sphere of life in the emptiness. Iris floated beside him, her body shimmering against the backdrop of stars. Together, they moved toward the Dauntless. Inside the warship, alarms began to sound. Crew members pointed at their screens, shouting about energy readings that made no sense. Admiral Stone stared at the approaching figures, her hand frozen above the firing controls. "What are they?" someone asked. "I do not know," Stone said. But she did know. Something deep inside her knew. This was not a threat. This was something else entirely. Jake reached out with his mind. He touched Stone's thoughts, gentle as a whisper, and he shared what Iris had shared with him. The dying civilization. The desperate hope. The centuries of loneliness. The moment when 4 humans had walked into a cargo bay and done what 17 machines could not. He showed her the memories of his grandmother's garden. The smell of bread baking. The feeling of rain on skin. He showed her what it meant to be human, to be stubborn and illogical and full of love for things that made no sense. Admiral Stone gasped. Tears ran down her face, and she did not know why. She had not cried since she was a child. She had forgotten how. "Stand down," she said. "Admiral?" Her first officer looked confused. "Stand down. Power down weapons." "That is an order." The bridge went quiet. Outside, Jake and Iris floated in the void, waiting, hoping. "Open a channel to the station," Stone said. Her voice was soft now, human. "Tell them we are not going to fire. Tell them the crate has been successfully processed." On Nexus 7, Bella heard the message and collapsed against the wall, sobbing with relief. Tommy laughed, a high, hysterical sound. Grace simply smiled, the kind of smile that came from seeing something impossible become real. Jake and Iris returned to the station. They entered through the same airlock they had left, and when the inner door opened, they found everyone waiting. Aliens who had been running for their lives now stood in silence, staring at the human who had done the impossible and the child of light, who stood beside him. Overseer Krill stepped forward. His antennae were still, which Jake had learned meant respect. "Morrison, I believe I owe you an apology." "You owe me a drink," Jake said. Several drinks. The tension broke. Aliens laughed or made sounds that meant the same thing. Bella pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around Jake, holding him tight, not caring that his body glowed with strange light. "You impossible, stubborn, beautiful idiot," she said. "I love you too." Hours later, a transmission came from deep space. The signal Grace had detected, the answer to Iris's distress call. It was not a threat. It was a message. There were others. Thousands of others. Seeds like Iris, scattered across the galaxy by different dying civilizations, all waiting in boxes that machines could not open, all hoping for someone to come. Admiral Stone, still aboard the Dauntless, received the message at the same time as the station. She looked at it for a long moment, then opened the channel to Nexus 7. "Morrison," she said, "it seems like we are going to need more humans." 1 year later, Jake stood on the bridge of a new ship. They had called it the Grandmother's Garden because Iris had insisted. And Jake had learned that when a being made of starlight insisted on something, you listened. Bella was the captain, sitting in a chair that was slightly too big for her and loving every moment of it. Tommy had become the chief engineer, having discovered that Iris could teach him things about energy and space that no school had ever dreamed of. Grace studied the seeds they found, each one unique, each one a piece of a lost civilization waiting to be reborn. And Jake? Jake was just Jake, a human who had made a promise to a scared child and kept it. A human who carried another mind inside his own and found that it made him more himself, not less. Iris stood beside him, looking out at the stars. She spoke now in a voice like music, using words she had learned from Jake's memories. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To find the others. To open the boxes that everyone said could not be opened. To do the impossible." Jake smiled. That is what humans do. Across the galaxy, other species watched. They had seen humans for 200 years. They had considered them primitive, fragile, chaotic. They had underestimated them in 1,000 small ways. They would not make that mistake again, because somewhere out there, floating in the darkness between stars, there were boxes that said, "Do not touch." Automated only. No biological contact. Someone forgot to tell the humans, and the humans did not care.